What is up to all the good people all across America and the good people of this world? Matthew here. So, I know, what I mean? Like I said in the other video, before this video, that, people will hear my story and they'll think it's lies. But everything that I'm saying can be easily verified. You know what I mean? One way or another, through witnesses, through, whatever, dude. I've been locked up in Mexico twice, which there's plenty of witnesses that know I was locked up in Mexico. Um, I used to hang out. I've had apartments down in Mexico. I grew up, 2 hours from the border, and come on, anybody that grew up in Phoenix, Arizona knows. I mean, Rocky Point, the Sonoran Desert, and even Baja California, and you know, Mexico is our shit. You know what I mean? And anybody from Mexico knows. Back especially when you used to be able to cross the border really easy, that we always had, working relationships, and you know, it's I don't think people from Arizona would think I'm full of shit because they know, you know what I mean? Phoenix, Arizona, especially where I grew up in West Phoenix is the biggest stronghold of the Sinaloa cartel in America. That is their biggest stronghold is my neighborhood in Maryville and that whole area over there. I mean, even on the east side, there's a lot of Sinaloa and we used to also have some Beltran Leyva used to be there. I don't know how many of those guys are around anymore, but yeah, it's always been that way. And then before it was Sinaloa, it was Guadalajara cartel, and we had them, and we had a little bit of Gulf cartel, not much, but it was yeah, it's always been there. It's been there since the '70s, since the '60s, and like I remember my freshman year in high school after I got out of jail, I got introduced to these two so the cartel members when they were kids, well, kids and adults, they used to wear the Malverde tags, Jesus Malverde tags around their necks. And I remember the first time I saw them, it was in my shop class. These two, they were plugs. You know what I mean? Their parents were in the cartel, and they approached me because they wanted to meet me, and I ended up walking off. It was me and my homeboy. Not gonna say his name. My best friend. My best friend. We were both in shop class together. And I remember my homeboy was super alarmed. He was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! You good? You good?" I said, "Yeah, dude. I got this. Don't worry, we're good." So I walk off with these two Pisces. Pisces. That's what we call them. Pisces. And we're 15 years old. Or 16 years old. I don't know, whatever you are in freshman year. And I had gotten out of jail the beginning of my freshman year. So I had just gotten out of jail, and anyway, so yeah, I sat there, and that's how I met them. The first two Paisa connects, cartel connects. Before that, I had some connections with the Arizona faction of La M, through one of my friend's fathers for marijuana and cocaine and stuff. And it was around, dude. It was around. I mean, it is what it is. And yeah, I mean, it sounds to, especially like coming from New York, I was born, half my life in New York, half my life in Phoenix, Arizona, off and on. And I mean, I've lived all over the country, and but for the overwhelming majority, I would say that the most part, it's been New York and Phoenix, Arizona. But yeah, the people in New York, they would hear that and they would say, "Oh, that's bullshit. That's bullshit." No, dude, cartel connects are a dime a dozen in Phoenix. How you guys move ounces, we move kilos out there. You know what I mean? Talk to people from California. You know what I mean? Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, and even like Albuquerque. You know what I mean? It's flooded with weight, dude. It's just everything's dirt cheap, and there's if you're connected in, like I was, and I grew up around those guys. It's like you're known and you're trusted, and and it's like some of them were like family to me at points in my life, and yeah, I mean, I was there for the entire thing, off and on, and but anyway, the story I'm thinking about right now is one time I got a whole bunch of stories out of Mexico. I mean, the stories about being locked up, and the first time I was locked up, I was in Puerto Penasco in so I think it was, I don't know if it was Cerezo or if it was the old jail, whatever their old jail was back in the '90s. I'm pretty sure it's torn down now and they've built Cerezo now. But I was in there, and I was in La Ocho in Tijuana a couple years after that. And I've also had, I mean, I've had other incidents with Policia and the Federales down there while I was down there. But anyway, so people don't realize how dangerous Mexico really is. I mean, when you're connected down there, you can commit murder and get away with it like it's nothing, dude. Like it's nothing. And the first human being that I ever seen murdered in Mexico, well, it wasn't really a murder. It was more of like a manslaughter because, so there used to be a bar called the Reef, um, down at the tip of the Gulf of Cortez, in the city of Puerto Penasco. There used to be this bar called the Reef. I don't think it's there anymore. And I believe it was my homeboy the Spaniard who was with me, Saavedra. And I used to have this one dude from, I'm not gonna say his name. Also, his first name was Jason. He was a Mexican. He went by an English name, but that was definitely not his real name. He was Mexican. He used to go by Jason. I won't say his last name, but and he had a cousin, this tall, thin, good-looking, American Mexican kid, and they all went to Washington High School. And I had just partied with them and got introduced. I knew Jason for a while, but I got introduced to his basically his crew of young drug traffickers, basically. You know what I mean? We were all, it was all marijuana and maybe a little bit of blow back then, at 16, 17. And but as soon as I seen his people, I'm not gonna say his name either. It starts with an A. We partied with them out at the Boulders, which used to be up on the north side in Phoenix, Arizona. And I got vibes from the kid that started with the A. From him, I said, "Yo, this kid, you know what I mean? He's got killer energy, bro. That kid's got killer energy." So I had just partied with him in Phoenix, and like I said, I'd known Jason for a long time. So now me and my homeboy Saavedra were down in Puerto Penasca partying. You know what I mean? We had girls down there and just chilling. We'd go down there 5 times a year. You know what I mean? Just hang out and partied and spend our money and just relax and enjoy life. You know what I mean? Just kick it with girls and just whatever. Chill on boats and whatever was going on down there. You mean 4x4s or quads or whatever. And so there was I was out, there used to be a patio at the Reef, and I was standing on the patio with my homeboy, and there was this group of, like, I would assume they went to like ASU or U of A, one of the colleges, a bunch of white jock dudes, and they had a bunch of women with them. And then all of a sudden I see the dude Jason, who I knew from up in Phoenix. He walks in, he's with the dude whose name started with the A. And they're with this other dude. I didn't know his name, but if I had to give him a nickname, I'd call him Chapo, because he was built he was shorty. He was a stocky little dude, all muscular, probably no older than 20 years old. And he just walked in, and as soon as I spotted him, I said, "Yo, they're here for some shit. They're on some bullshit." And sure enough, so I'm just watching all this go down, and I watch. It was like Braveheart, basically. I mean, what ended up happening? It was the crew of Jason and which ended up being his cousin from Mexico, and then the dude whose name started with an A, and all their homeboys, and then they approached the jock dudes, and in the end, they end up lining up on two sides, and I'm just watching this whole thing go down, and I'm staying out of it. I'm like, yo, I don't know them well enough to take a side and whatever. And there was no reason to, because they were pretty much equally numbered. And then all of a sudden, the dude whose name started with an A, he kicks it off, and he sweeps one of the jock dude's legs while he puts his hand right on the dude's face, and he takes him down and like literally bounces the dude's head off the concrete dance floor. And the music, dude, the techno, like boom, 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 boom. I could literally hear the dude's head hit the concrete so hard that I heard the back of this dude's skull over the music, like boom, you know what I mean? Like the back of this dude's skull hitting the concrete, and the dude goes into an instant seizure because he hit his head so hard. And then all of a sudden, the fight breaks out, this big ass bar fight, and one of the jocks throws a bottle that sets off people throwing bottles and shit. And I watched Shorty throws the bottle back at the jock. And in Mexico, the Corona bottles are not the same Corona bottles. They're brown bottles down there. They're these big quart bottles. And the glass, because the integrity of the glass in the beer bottles down there, it's like, it doesn't have the same integrity. It's like a softer glass that's more brittle. And just the way, when he threw that bottle, the way it caught the jock kid, it hit the kid right in his carotid artery. And it ended up literally lapping, like slashing the side of the kid's neck and opening up his, severing his carotid artery, and the kid just starts squirting blood towards the ceiling, and he drops within seconds. And that pretty much, you know what I mean? Like, the fight ended within 30 seconds of that kid getting, that happening. So they back up, and now I'm watching this kid bleed out on the floor. So I run in there and I grab the kid's body, and then there was 3 other dudes with me, they weren't with me, but they were going for the kid also. And we lifted him up on top of the bar, and there was 2 bartenders bartending, and they both had these dirty ass towels, and that's all they had though. So we throw him on top of the bar, trying to save this dude's life because he's, his carotid arteries opening up, and we're sitting there holding the dude's neck, man, trying to hold it, and like, the bartenders take the towels, these dirty ass towels, and I'm thinking, dude, this kid's gonna get, if he does survive, which I don't think he's going to, he's gonna get infection. And the kid bled out. It was hopeless. His carotid artery got opened up, and he died almost instantly. He was, by the time we lifted him up to the bar, he was lifeless pretty much. I mean, once your carotid gets opened up, you're gone quickly. You know what I mean? There's no real, unless it's like a half pierce or it's halfway, if it's opened up a little bit, you might survive. But when it gets completely severed, you're done, dude. You're not going to survive that. And this kid, like I said, by the time me and the 3 other dudes lifted him up onto the bar, he was already dead. And this is how corrupt Mexico is. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting there watching now. Like, now I'm looking at, my homeboy Jason, he was a good dude, man. But like I said, I never got the killer energy from him, but from his homeboy A, and then his cousin. I spotted his cousin. I was, that dude's got bodies, bro. I just saw it instantly. I could just tell. I said, this dude's a killer. And I'm looking at them like, yo, they better get the fuck out of here. No, not at all, dude. They sat there. The policia showed up. The first one to approach him was Little Chapo. Little Chapo, you know what I mean? I don't know if that was his name, but that's what nickname I would have gave him because he looked like a Chapo. And he approached the policia, and I could tell he's telling him the story. He's pointing. He's like, he's telling his side of it or whatever. And they're the ones that started it. But either way, yeah, no. The policia took one look and they just turned around and left, man. And that's how it is down there. When you're cartelled up and they know you're with the cartel, they do not fuck with you at all. At all. You know what I mean? And yeah, it is what it is. But that's Mexico, man. I don't know how it is now. The last time I was down there was anyway, I don't need to go into all that. But yeah, it's I haven't been down there in a little bit though. I'll say that much. So I would assume it's probably probably even worse now. I don't know how it is, but I know they disbanded. I'm pretty sure they disbanded the policia. At least they did. They disbanded them, and then I don't know if they brought them back, but they, I know they disbanded them, and yeah. So yeah, but I love Mexico, dude. You know what I mean? It's Mexico is a beautiful country, and as long as you're cool and if you know how to move down there, you can survive it pretty easily. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. So yeah, that was the first human being that I ever saw murdered in Mexico. It definitely wasn't the last. I've been in all sorts of shit down there, from shootouts to all sorts of stuff that went down while I was, different times I was down in Mexico, wherever it was, San Luis or Mexicali or, Puerto Penasco or whatever, you know what I mean, whichever part I was in. So, but yeah, so yeah, to that kid's family, man. I mean, if you ever hear this, we tried to save your boy's life. I would have to say it was in the 90s, the mid 90s. And, we did everything we could to try to save him. And, it was just too late. There was no saving him. So I'm sorry. He ended up losing his life down there. And, that's Mexico, man. Proceed with caution. If you're going to go down there, proceed with caution. That's all I got to say. So, anyway, peace.